Have you ever took a test and your brain froze right then and there? There can be only two reasons why this happens. It's either you actually genuinely didn't know what was on the test, or you were so stressed out that even if you did or didn't know, you just couldn't execute. The thing is, stress is something that if we tackle, can get instant results really easily. This is the actual quick and easy tactics that actually get you instant results. The reason being, stress kills everything. It literally kills you. And not only that, it inhibits all critical thinking, all learning. It's horrible for everything. If you want instant results, watch this video till the end because school never teaches anything like this. I used to be a full geek that studied way too much. And now, even though I study like less than 30 minutes per test, I still maintain a 95 average. And I absolutely hate school. So I did my own research as to why I did that. And I absolutely hate school. So I did my own research as to why I absolutely hate it. And I realized that school actually brainwashes you. There's something called the hidden curriculum. You can search it up. It's not just something I made up. These lessons are not explicitly taught to us, but have been ingrained in our brain since we started school. And this is absolutely horrible. The reason being is because we know that any sort of stress or negative emotions inhibit creative, curious abilities, block any critical thinking, and just make learning less likely to be more effective. So this is absolutely horrible, and this is why this is something we can instantly tackle to get instant results. Now, even though this might be obvious to you, most people don't actually realize this, and a lot of people actually do this study tactic, which is completely ironic. A lot of people replicate the stress that appears on the exam when they're studying so that they can get used to the stress and better cope on the exam. However, it just does not make sense. Instead of making both scenarios, studying and testing, stressful, why don't you just make both scenarios not stressful? And literally you just have better thinking, better learning, and better creative and curious abilities. So literally there's no negative to this. There's literally 0 point of stressing yourself out in both scenarios. The study method of stressing yourself out on purpose is literally absolutely bullshit. Okay, so let's actually get into how you actually can not stress yourself out. I know this advice is kind of cringe, but trust me, bro, it's literally so important. I spam these tactics every single time. So the first thing is called double breathing. Now, I know you're probably already thinking, like, what the fuck, bro? Why is bro talking about breathing? The truth is, you breathe every 3 seconds. And it is such a broken tool. Nobody realizes there's a reason why so many spiritual religions all talk about breathing. I spam this technique every single time I'm stressed out, not even just in school, but everywhere. But specifically, I do it before every single test when I feel myself stressed out. And instantly, I just get so much more calm. Okay, so what is double breathing? Double breathing is pretty much where you inhale as much as possible, and then you force more air in, and then you exhale longer than you inhaled. So I can demonstrate. And the reason why we do this is because it's scientifically proven to be one of the best methods to calm someone instantly down. This is absolutely broken. Just trust me. Get into the habit of whenever you're stressful, just spam this technique, and I guarantee you'll feel so much better. The thing is, when I was making this video, I realized that tackling the stress is actually tackling a symptom of the root cause. And I realized that most people are getting stressed because they actually care too much about grades. And of course, what do you know? School propaganda actually makes us care way too much about it. You have to realize that grades is never associated with anything related to your worth. You are not worth your grades. School makes it seem like they're so important and that you have to execute, you have to get good grades. When in reality, just look 5 years ahead. You can probably visualize yourself maybe going to university or in a job or whatever, right? But really think about it. Are your grades today that much of an impact 5 years later? They're probably not. Even though you might be coping and saying, oh, but I need grades to get into university, to get into medical school or whatever. These things are a big impact. And I'm not saying that grades are just not worth anything. Of course, they are actually pretty important if you want to go down the business model of getting a job. However, there's just no point of worrying about the small things, because at the end of the day, even if your job is really competitive, there's no point of worrying about the things you can't control. This is what I think every single time I take a test. You already know what you know. Your performance is based on how much you prepared. There's no point of worrying about the things that you're going to get wrong, because you're going to get it wrong 100 out of 100 times. You just genuinely did not know the things that you were going to get wrong, right? So your performance on the test doesn't matter. What matters is your preparation, because you can't randomly spawn knowledge in your brain. Unless you randomly come up with a new formula on a math test, that's not going to happen. And honestly, this advice goes even better to the people who don't even know what they're doing. Because honestly, I'm just going to say it. You're probably likely going to be an entrepreneur. You're probably likely going to never find any fulfillment in any job. And that's completely fine. You should actually care less about school. So I was in school one day, and usually teachers give horrible advice, but this one teacher actually gave pretty good advice this one time, and I think you might have heard it before. This teacher said, "Stop fighting me over half a mark, because it really doesn't matter." And that advice is actually genuinely good, because you have to wake up and realize there's no point of half marks here and there. It does not matter. 99 and 100 are literally does not matter to worry about these small things. For most of us, these small things just don't matter. And you have to realize and wake up from the school propaganda telling you and indoctrinating you to stress yourself over performance and these things. The reason why I'm giving this advice is because I used to care way too much about my grades, and I wish that someone told me that it doesn't really matter that much, honestly. You spending 5 extra hours for studying just to get extra 5% just does not matter, really. Like, I'd rather you spend that time actually working on yourself rather than geeking out for a system that benefits off you chasing a life of external validation. The last piece of advice is to sleep infinite hours. You must sleep 9 hours every single day. This is not optional. Bro, every single time you don't sleep 9 hours, you're literally sacrificing 1 centimeter of your height, or like something like that, right? Bro, if you don't sleep 9 hours every single day, you're literally cooking yourself every single fucking day. I think that most people don't even know what it feels like to be awake. Everyone today is genuinely sleep deprived. And the reason why is because school starts so early. And there's so many studies that show that if school just started an hour or 2 hours later, suicide rates or every single stress metric would literally plummet to the ground. And this is just proof that school just does not care about you at all. It's a system designed for the government's benefit. You have to adapt your own schedule to fit this. And what I mean by this, calculate when you usually wake up for school and then minus 9 hours, and that is your bedtime. And you must stick to that as much as possible. Honestly, I'm not going to bullshit myself. I actually am so inconsistent with my sleep. But recently, I've been getting better and better. And when you actually get consistently good sleep, you will realize you will never want to ever go back ever again. Every single time you have shit sleep, you just genuinely can't think. You have so much brain fog. You can't learn anything. You can't remember anything. It is the biggest nerf you can possibly give yourself. And there's just no point of applying it on yourself. Now, if you think that you're cooked and you need to cram and therefore you actually need to sleep less, honestly, most people would say just sleep more. What I think is that for tests specifically, that it works. That advice works. Because every single time I literally just study the period before the test. And that's enough time for me. Maybe when you're watching this, I'll post a video detailing exactly how I study, literally less than 30 minutes. So for tests, you don't really need to cram that much, unless you're absolutely cooked and you don't know anything about the lessons. Now, if you're cooked and you need to cram, honestly, for most people, I think there actually is a benefit to cramming the night before. However, the reason why I'm saying this is because most people don't actually learn. Most people are just genuinely sitting in class like it's an e-learning class, AFKing, not listening to anything, and then the day before the test, actually trying to learn or grasp the concepts, when in reality, they can't do that because their brain is fogged in every single day, so they just memorize everything and then forget everything the day after the test. So if you're not like that and you actually genuinely learn the things during the test, it depends on how much you actually need to learn. See, the reason why I can study a period before the test is because I'm not even studying, bro. I'm literally just reviewing. There's so little things that I genuinely need to learn during studying. And it's crazy to me when I realize like I actually pick up so much compared to everyone else. So you needing to cram depends entirely on how much you actually need to learn. The things you review can, if you need to review, that can take so little time, obviously, right? But if you need to learn, you're actually cooked. So you need to determine a threshold. And because I don't know your course, I don't know what you actually need to know. It really depends. How long it'll take to learn really depends on you. However, so obviously just determine yourself whether or not you can study the period before the test or like the day on the day of the test. However, obviously that is way better. Getting 9 hours of sleep is literally a broken cheat code to actually functioning to an actual functioning brain. So to emphasize even more on sleep, literally every single time I used to blame every single stupid mistake that I made on sleep. I can make an entire video on stupid mistakes. Honestly, I think most of the time, stupid mistakes come from people just genuinely not knowing the concept. And that actually is because of sleep. It is because most of learning actually comes during sleep. So that means the stupid mistakes that I made just come from bad sleep right after the previous lessons that I was trying to learn. Every single lesson that you actually mess up your sleep, you actually enable the chance for a stupid mistake. That's pretty much the way I think about it, and that's why every single time, if you want the maximum result, obviously taking care of your health. No one, like, school never tells you this. Everyone, like, school will just tell you, oh, take care of your mental health so you can sacrifice it on the days of the exam. What? Prioritize studying over your relationship with your family. Geek out for 6 hours a day so you can get the maximum result. School will tell you the absolutely worst advice. What I'm just telling you is to worry about your health and prioritize yourself and your self-development. Obviously, bro, like sleeping 9 hours is literally fundamental if you really think about it. This advice is not hard to take, bro. It's literally so simple. But even though I say that, I'm actually have fucked up sleep schedule sometimes, so I can't blame you. Just try to get as much sleep as possible every single day. And the cheat code to that is actually to get a consistent routine and as well getting sunlight in the morning, but just as early as possible, minus 9 hours to the time you need to wake up, and then sleep at that time. Set alarm clock for when you're going to sleep. And then even better, if you can, set an alarm clock an hour before to tell yourself to turn off the lights. And if you want to go even further, an hour before, don't use any screens at all. But that's all pretty basic advice. So to summarize, stress literally kills you. There's no point of it at all. Never force yourself to study in stress. And also minimize as much stress as possible during tests and exams. So to do that, if you're stressed, do double breathing. It's absolutely broken. But honestly, the root cause of stress is because you care too much. Like during my tests, I literally very, very rarely actually stress out. And that could be because I'm genuinely prepared, but also partly because of it is because I just genuinely don't care. And I look every single time I take a test, I just look like a year later. I'm just think like, bro, this just does not matter. Like these courses just don't matter for the outcome of your life. And if you want to be an entrepreneur as well, if you don't care about the pathways that school sets you up for, you should care even less because you should be focusing on finding what you are genuinely called to do. And that comes from escaping the school system, right? And final thing is sleep 9 hours. That also, I forgot to mention, improves emotional regulation. Obviously, it just improves everything. Like, bro, like if you're not sleeping 9 hours, you're actually cooking yourself in every single aspect. Complete nerf to your entire human being. So if you want more advice, you can join my Discord server. There's a link in the description. I talk more about study advice that school never teaches, and also some advice actually I guarantee is better than all other study YouTubers. By the way, I haven't said this to anyone, but I literally geeked out and stalked so many other study YouTubers, and bro, so few people actually talk about these problems. And the reason why I think is because everyone's too scared to admit that they hate school and the school system is bad. When in reality, I don't give a fuck. I can admit it all I want because it's my personal brand. Maybe I'm ruining my brand image, but whatever, bro. Okay.